I'll be talking to you about green. How we can create a green economy, how we can have a greening in our cities, even in the middle of a recession, as we are in today, even when governments only have one word, austerity and reduction of deficits. That is possible, but we need to rethink how we deal with money. Let's imagine that you're living in a city that has decided to have that little bit of an agenda. I'm sure you've heard similar ideas. Reducing energy, grow some food in the cities, invite biodiversity, which has basically disappeared in our towns, and at the same time maintain a high quality of life and a learning environment for all its inhabitants. There are some people who've been seeing things like that. This is your residential area. This is the financial center. This is a real building in Fukuoka, in Kyushu Island in Japan. This is what they're doing in China. They're growing orchards on top of roofs. They're even trying rice fields. Now, that's my neighborhood. I live in Brussels today. Brussels has one little river that nobody has seen for the last 150 years. And it has 9 streams that actually go through town. All of them have been buried because they became sewage outlets. Well, how about restoring them? Getting them back in our lives? That's a normal city day in Belgium, as you probably are familiar. Now, let's see how it could evolve. Imagine a little original guy there who actually does an edible garden in-house. And that idea catches on. It starts slowly taking the form of things like this. And 15, 20 years later, that's what it looks like. Now, let me tell you the bad news. None of this will happen as long as we believe we're going to have to do everything with one single type of currency. It will never be making sense for me to grow vegetables on my terrace when that idea, when growing vegetables 100 miles away or 100 kilometers away on 1,000 hectares. Nevertheless, what I'm claiming is we can make these things happen. How? By re-looking at money. Now, can we have some light here, please, in the room? I have a question for you. How many of you think that money is created by governments? Can you lift the arms? Some light, please. Okay, a few. On the top there? Yep. How many of you think that it's the central banks? Okay. A few too. Well, how many of you think it's someone else? All right. We'll see that's the last group that actually has it. 95% of our money is created by someone else than governments and central banks. Now, how is that created? When you look at television shows, they always show you, whenever they talk about money, printing machines, where they print the money. Is that where money is created? How many believe that? Well, that's pretty... You don't believe television. That's a good beginning. Well, that's with banking system? Guess what? 90 to 95% of all our money is created through debt, through the banking system. When you borrow money to buy a house or an apartment, when a company borrows money, or when the government borrows money, that's when the money is created. So, you'll understand why I'm asking that question, because you've seen that there's a widespread misunderstanding on how these things happen. Finally, why is it that we only use one currency? Okay? Is that by law? Anybody? Not many. Okay, well, let me tell you the key. The reason that everybody accepts taxes, the reason that everybody accepts the national currencies is that the government only accepts that currency for payment in taxes. And that is what creates the value for the currency. So I know that's completely reversed from what we've been taught. Now, how do we do this? What I talked to you about at the beginning. Well, there are two projects. One of them which is already operational, it's called TEDx in Ghent. And it has been operational since the end of last year. And it's greening a particular neighborhood. And the second one is a more ambitious undertaking. But we need to get outside of the money box. The TEDx, the neighborhood that was given to implement it, was not an easy one. It has about 8,000 residents. It is the poorest neighborhood of all of Flanders, economically. 50%, half of the population, is recent immigrants. And they are all on top of each other. This is more than 9,000 people per square kilometer. It's one of the highest densities in the world, actually. And they speak 20 languages, the dominant language being Turkish. So that's the neighborhood. The first thing that we asked is, what is their dream? And their dream was to have a bit of garden, 4 square meters of land in which they could grow flowers, in which they could grow some vegetables. When you live in a building, in an apartment building, in a low-cost apartment building, that could be a dream. So that's what it looks like. How do they do that? They can do it only by earning a particular currency called TEDx. The city makes them at their disposal, these gardens, and there's a rent on it, payable in that currency. The currency here, the TEDx. And these TEDx will make it possible for you to buy food and rent that little garden. This is what it looks like. That's what it looked like in spring this year. And how do you earn the TEDx? Well, you do a bunch of things to make the neighborhood nicer, more pleasant. And one of them was cleaning up. Another one was planting prairie flowers on the sidewalks. The neighborhood starts alive. Here's the results. In 6 months, we had 40,000 TEDx earned, in 526 different transactions, exchanges. 12,000 were spent on local groceries, and 9,000 were spent on the little gardens. And there were also movies and other things that were used. Notice that this doesn't cost much to the government. In fact, with the same euro budget, they get 2 to 4 times more results in the field. And this is a conservative estimate. According to some estimates, it can go up to 7. So with the same budget, you can do a hell of a lot more than ever be possible. Now let's go to the next issue. Bigger scale. How do we live with today's single currency? You have the national currency, where it creates a competitive global economy, where commercial transactions are occurring, and on the other side, you have a cooperative economy. And what we are doing is we're having non-profit organizations getting some tax deductions in order to make things happen in the social field. And we do have the government raising taxes and paying subsidies to make this happen. Well, with a recession and with government deficits getting squeezed, this is not going to be an easy way to make it happen anymore. So there's another way. This is what actually we're trying to do. We are putting on the same railroad tracks 2 trains instead of having 2 railroad tracks next to each other where they can actually cross. This is what it would look like. You still have your normal economy, but now you have a second wheel on your bicycle. I call where a government creates their own currency. And you still pay taxes for what you do now, but some of the taxes that are currently will be raised will be replaced with another request for a contribution in ECHOs. And this contribution, the currency, is created by the government. The cost to the deficits is 0. But it creates a value to this currency because everybody is supposed to get it. So let's assume that I am a guy who is not interested in any of these things, and you love these things. Well, you have 50 of these ECHOs, and I have 0 at the end of the year. I need to buy them from you. So we create an open market, an eBay type thing, where we basically exchange these things at whatever the price that we agree upon. So you create a whole other economy in parallel with the conventional economy, and that other economy costs 0 to the government when things happen. So that's the idea. We could use our mobile phones as a payment system. The Africans are doing it. Why shouldn't we do it for that particular currency? It solves government deficits structurally. Whatever we agree upon, that we can actually offload, and I would suggest the social domain, the ecological domain, the learning domain, could all be domains that we actually empower through such a currency innovation. It also becomes possible. What it would mean for people is the following. It becomes possible to make a living in a commercial way and in a non-commercial way. It gives you a broader range of possibilities. What it would mean for the wealthy people, they can financially wealthy, they can still be financially wealthy, but not at the cost of the rest of society. That's the difference. Now, why do I claim this? Well, there is a scientific reason. We have not one crisis. We've had 145 banking crashes. We have had 204 monetary collapses. We had 72 sovereign debt crises in the last 40 years. That's 1 every 6 weeks. This system is unstable. And it is unstable. We have been able to prove it scientifically because of the monoculture, because it is a single currency. That is the key. So what I'm proposing is actually providing an ecology of currencies, not only an ecology for plants. There's a second reason. You may read the newspapers, and this is what they'll show you. This is not some French leftist journal. It is The Economist. We should get ready for another shock, not only on the euro. In such an environment, it's time to think broader than we're used to. Because the picture, from the monetary perspective, looks similar, top down or right left. The final reason is we're running out of conventional solutions. You may have noticed that. I think it's time that we get on another track than one we were on in the 1930s. Because, as you may remember, it didn't end that well. And it was because we stuck to the same model, notwithstanding the environment that has changed. The conclusion, money can also be the crowbar for solutions, not only for top-down power. We can create another economy from the bottom up. To deal with the issues that we're dealing with today, we will need dramatic changes in behavior patterns. Just make the inventory of all the efforts that people make to earn conventional money. It is the engine that will be possible to make large-scale behavior changes. So I'm inviting all of you to rethink what you're doing in terms of money, because it's actually from the bottom up that we can give the courage to the politicians to rethink as well. We have a choice. That's sticking to the monetary status quo. A single currency will not do it. We can do another way. This is what's available to us. And I know that if we wake up, we can face what we need to do and make the changes. Thank you so much.